What do you love about music? To begin with, everything.
Every generation is afraid of the music that comes from the next.
And there used to be a way to stick it to the man. It was called rock and roll. But guess what? Oh no, the man ruined that too with a little thing called MTV!
Books, records, films, these things matter. Call me shallow. It's the fucking truth.
True music, not just rock and roll, it chooses you. You know, it lives in your car or alone, listen to your headphones, with the vast scenic bridges and angelic choirs in your brain. You know, it's a place apart from the vast, benign lap of America.
Back in like the Ezra days, when we're kind of like near the end of it, and we had a little bit more of a name for ourselves. We were played at this really great venue called Crescent Ballroom, which was run by a really big promotion agency. And when we were in the green room, my drummer at the time turns to the head promoter who runs this bar, he runs the promotion agency, who books all the bands, and he turns to him, and my drummer asks him, "Yeah, you've seen all these bands, like what does it take? What does a band need to like make it? You know, like what's that special thing?" And he's thinking like, oh, they gotta have like really catchy chord. I don't know what he was looking for. But the promoter turns to him, dead-eyed, like just straight off, and just says, "Fuck tons of money." So I really had this grand vision, and I was like, I think it's only a matter of time before that pendulum swings back and it's going to become bands again, and I think this is going to be the sound that people want to hear. The idea of kind of our tagline, I don't know if it's going to be our tagline forever or if it's just for right now, but I had this tagline of where poetry meets melody, and I had this idea of emo revival.
I think overall in Phoenix you see a wide spectrum of different kinds of music, so you've got really mainstream friendly alt bands, you've got really weird alt bands, and you know, you move to EDM, you've got desert raves in the middle of nowhere where people cover themselves in fake blood and they dance to EDM, and then you've got huge festivals like Decadence that has names with like Deadmau5, Disclosure, the Chainsmokers, all these DJs that you hear on the radio every single day. So I think that's Phoenix's greatest strength, is that it's got such a wide variety.
You got a lot of different sounds, so the Phoenix music scene is like kind of hard to talk about as monolithic. Some neat stuff going on in hip hop, so it's kind of really diverse and all over the place.
The people are super supportive. Like, you play a set with other local bands, and of course you're gonna walk up to them and shake their hand afterwards, tell them like what you thought of their set and whatnot, and there's just a lot of support that goes around.
I really felt this like personal connection with the local scene, like almost indebted to it. And so when I first made a band, it was not my desire to become rich and famous and tour the world. It was like I was going to become a doctor because that's what I always thought I was going to be. And I simply just wanted to play my guitar and be a part of the local scene and give back to the scene that loved me, or that I loved, and like just kind of like make my mark on Phoenix. Brandon instantly became my new drummer. He became that like right-hand man. Like anything you see the Breaking Pattern do is going through Brandon.
We got Nick.
Yeah, Brandon hit me up that they needed someone to do leads, and I was just not in any bands at the time, so I wanted to be back in a band, missed it, so joined on in.
And then we hit Jacob.
Yeah. Before I created the Breaking Pattern, I had a collection of songs that I had worked on in the demo process. I had written all the songs that are now on There Are Road Maps in Our Veins, the debut album from Breaking Pattern. and they're just kind of like acoustic raw recordings. And typically when I write a song, so the album back then, some of those songs take almost over like 5 years to write. And so when I crafted this album, I realized that there kind of was an overarching theme of how I wanted to portray it, which is another big reason why it became the Breaking Pattern. Not only was it I had new band members, and I knew I was changing direction, but I felt like there was a greater sense of purpose, and there was more direction on where I wanted to head, both musically as well as thematically. So I would say the actual writing process took several years, because the ideas kind of just collect. Then the actual demoing process took a couple months, and then we went into the actual studio, which took 6 months to a year, and then I took another 6 months or so before I actually put the album out.
We spent 3 years writing this album and rebranding ourselves as a new band with new members. So we're really excited to finally put out our debut album. So thank you guys for everyone here has always supported us, and we're just really grateful to have you guys as friends to help us along in the extremely painful and horrendous journey that is being a musician.
So when you have this whatever idea in your head for years, and you can finally put it out to the public and finally be like, look, this is what I wanted to show you, what do you think? It is like the biggest feeling of relief and like excitement and nervousness on how it's going to be received. But overall, it just feels good just to let it out of you and move on. There's like this obsessive nature that comes with being a songwriter, that an idea will just haunt you until it is out of you.
I think artists in generations past were there was more of a presentation or a image that was cultivated, and you never really knew the artist as well. There was a little bit more remove between the artist and the fan.
Back in the day, you had to bring either your floppy disk or your vinyl single or your cassette tape or your CD, and you had to bring that with you, and you had to go to, let's say, a radio station and say, this is my music, play it because of reason 1, reason 2, reason 3. And they would have to be equipped to listen to whatever format you brought your music on and make the decision kind of then and there, or they would keep it and then talk with the board and everybody who's making the decision. So there was a lot more human interaction and having a physical medium.
20 years ago, or even when I started, to find an artist or to break an artist, you had to go out on the road. There wasn't the internet, and you had to go out on the road and tour, and we didn't know whether we had a really good artist until a couple of years of them touring, and then we'd find out whether they had a reaction and people liked them.
Yeah, back in the day, the only way you'd figure out anything about your favorite musician was through a magazine or through just like some watching sort of interviews. Press. Yeah, some sort of press. And now you can see them, how they acted day to day, and I think that just makes it a lot more authentic.
I remember being able to listen to music on the internet for the first time, because when I first was a music fan, you couldn't listen to music on the internet. And so I'm kind of in this in-between where I kind of see sort of a little bit of both, whereas people just a few years older than me, the internet was never part of their music experience growing up. That wasn't part of the music to them. And so you get this where it's just very fundamentally different how people connect to music. In the same way, I think a lot of younger kids don't know what it's like to listen to an album straight through. You talk to a lot of these kids where it's all about the single and mixtapes and the YouTube video, and the experience of putting on a record and listening to 13 songs in a row and then replaying the entire record isn't how kids connect to music today. And I don't think that's better or worse, it's just different.
The big thing was MySpace being one of the most original ones that came out, and it was very great for bands because you could add songs to your profile, you could link other bands to your, and so what you saw in like the whole 2000s era was a huge explosion in bands and rock music and emo movement.
having some sort of presentation right off the bat is incredibly easy now, whereas before it was, you know, you had to be a band for a while to save up some money. And are we ready to go spend $1,000 on a demo?
But then there was the huge crash, which happened around 2008, the economy crashed. MySpace around that time also crashed. And then the music scene started slowly crumbling around. Venues started going down. Bands were hopping on Facebook, but Facebook is extremely not friendly towards bands. And you saw a whole new wave of music that was mainly like folk and electronic, and EDM became really big because those were not ones that required people to go out and play shows every night like rock and emo music was.
And all these tools and all these, and now they come standard on everyone's iPhone and everyone's laptop and your iPad, and you can run GarageBand, comes free with your computer.
It didn't stop until about 2013 when the indie scene started to pop back up a little bit.
That's when now Instagram's coming out. That's when Spotify's coming out. This is when Snapchat's coming out. And the way we can reach fans now, it's so much easier to communicate and have that line to fans again.
I think bigger labels kind of felt it when things went digital and people were downloading music for free. It didn't really affect us that much because we took it as not that we were losing money and that people were getting our music. We looked at it as an opportunity to really expand our fan base and our audience.
It's rare to go to a band and go like, oh, I keep hearing this name, but I've never typed it in Google. I've never seen the YouTube video. I've never listened to the song, but I'll pay $15 and go see them.
A band that's first breaking out right now in 2016 will most likely need to be really, really familiar with and really savvy with social media. And so they'll need to use, they'll need to use hashtags, and they'll need to be, hitting up various people that have huge social media followings, various small publications. So as long as they can constantly have content that is relatable and engagement worthy and everything like that, on Twitter especially, on Facebook, on Instagram, as long as they have a really large internet presence, I think that's a really great place to start.
Gives the little guys a chance, because before you couldn't really hear any local music, but now with the platforms like Spotify and like SoundCloud, Instagram, you can actually find local bands, whereas before you'd have to listen to just signed bands pretty much.
I was one of the first bands that I know that use Instagram on a daily basis to reach new people and to meet new people and to kind of like push ourselves into a new market. And that was before Instagram had videos or anything, so people couldn't even hear music on it. But we were just putting kind of like artistic photos out, and I mixed it with my poetry, and it just kind of like built a really like strong core following. So things just really took off for us after we released that album, and that momentum really kind of kept going.
But the cure's worse than the disease.
As social media becomes more important, the artists themselves are, the individuality is like coming out more and more. People want more of a direct, with social media, they wanted more direct communication with the artist. They don't want the press release or the PR spin or the radio story behind it. They want to hear it straight from the artist.
As long as they are interacting with people every day, then I think that that's going to get them a lot of points. So, you know, I'm sure they open up their Twitter in the morning and they have all kinds of mentions. Well, you know, as long as it's not like hate tweets or things that are just completely unreasonable, you tweet back at some people, oh, love you too, like thanks so much, and oh, you know, that song was so fun to record, glad you enjoyed it, things like that. If they're not playing a show that day, oh, here's us in the studio, here's us walking our dogs, here's us, you know, going paintballing. And it's like anybody else, you know, if somebody's life looks really cool and really fun, you say, hey, I want to follow this, I want to, you know, kind of live vicariously through this person and be a part of it, then that's going to be more attractive to potential fans and thus labels, agents, media, than a band that just leaves their social media dormant for weeks at a time.
That constant drumbeat just builds and builds and builds and builds and builds, and a lot of acts, they're on it, then they're off, and then they're on it, then they're promoting some new thing, and then it doesn't build that way.
Facebook is still pretty strong, the connection, and we have an artist right now, I Prevail, that's really, really good at Facebook, and they've been able to, through getting fans to share, the sharing component is most valuable when you can get fans to actually share peer-to-peer. It's basically like telling a friend that you like something and to listen to it, and it's worked really well for them.
Tweets are nice because very few words, you get your point across, and then Twitter also has that option that you can link to all the other social media sites. And, you know, on Twitter you can post links directly into your tweets, you can post photos directly into your tweets.
Most important is Facebook. It's where the most people are. It's the easiest to spread. It is the best for advertising. It's the one that really makes sense advertising through. I do a lot of advertising through artists' Facebook pages, where artists give me access to their page and then we promote ads through their page. So I'm paying for the ad to promote my show, but it's coming from the artist and it's coming from the artist's words. So, you know, they create the post and I just pay for people to see it, more people to see it. And so Facebook is really the one right now, but by the time this comes out or in a year, that might not be true.
Social media is an example for each member of the band to express uniqueness. If it's like a whole band social media, which most of the time it is, if it's a PR person, I think there's just a little bit of a lack of authenticity that's there, because you've got these kids that are 19 and they're not going to post, you know, capital letter this sentence with this hashtag and, you know, at this person with the link. They're going to say, hey dudes, like this is what's going on, check it out, here's the link. It's just going to be a much different voice, and if it's a PR person, it's not going to feel as real as if the band did it themselves.
Great artists care about how their art is presented, and that includes on social media, and that includes on the internet. Whereas before it might be, I really care about how my album cover looks because that's how people are going to engage. They're going to buy the album and the artwork is how people are going to connect to it. Now it's, how's the website, how's the social media, how's the Instagram, because that's how people are going to connect to it.
About November of this past year is when we went on a show hiatus so that we could write again. We had kind of talked to some bigger names in the industry who were impressed with our work, both of what we've accomplished as a band as well as the songs that we've written. But it was made clear to us that if we wanted to kind of take it to the next step and to the next level, we were going to have to kind of one-up ourselves from what we did already.
So we had like our first like official meeting, like, no, I mean, I don't know, we've had a lot of meetings, but basically we finally moved on and we've been talking with them and it's official, things are now official. And they're like, okay, I know you're like a business guy, I know you've been like pushing your band a lot, I want you to drop everything. And the only thing you need to worry about, at least for the next 2 months, is writing songs. He's like, because if songs aren't there, you're never gonna make it. And so he's like, your songs are good now and I believe in you, but you need to write the best damn songs that's ever been written.
Like basically he just like went on for like 15 minutes talking about how good I need to write, how I need to work with other writers, how I need to do whatever I can possibly do to make the best song possible. And then he was like, yeah, and then you need to write 20 songs in 2 months. All right, try it again. Just fucking do it again. Fuck, do it again. Fuck!
The kindness of strangers in this place, promise I will never break.
That's the right time. It's just my tone isn't good, but that is the right time. So I figured it out. We got like one little guitar line down for like 3 hours of work. In the most ideal world, I would say August is when the next EP is going to come out. But that is totally tentative. So don't quote me on that. You can just take it for what it's worth.
Music is just reflecting on what life looks like. So I guess, do I think that the current state of culture is more superficial than it used to be? Yeah, I do. It's one of the cons of social media.
I do think that kind of having a camera on you at all times is very humanizing.
You can make, great stuff, but, if you're not that great of a person, you're going to fall short of expectations.
Right.
So,
and there's no hiding from that anymore.
Exactly,
like
so
if you're not a good person, the world's gonna know.
Exactly. Yeah, you can
Yeah.
create the best stuff ever, but if you're a dick, you're a dick.
To me, the best artists that I've worked with are ones that really enjoy what they do first, regardless of anything else. They don't think about how much money they're going to make. They don't worry about all of those things that they can't really control, by the way. They love what they do.
A ton of really hard work. And that's the one thing that I think has always been constant and always will, is I don't think it's necessarily difficult industry or difficult to crack into, but it takes a lot of work.
My ultimate goal with the Breaking Pattern is to be more than just music, but to be kind of like a company or a brand or like a hub for culture. So if I could die knowing I made a difference, then I'll have died reaching my highest ambition and expectation of myself. And I want to do that on the biggest stage possible.